The New Orleans Saints want faster starts from their offense. The Green Bay Packers want more consistency from their defense. Which one will come out on top? We got all of that and a little bit of lagniappe for you on this crossover Thursday edition of Locked On Saints.
You are Locked On Saints, your daily New Orleans Saints podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome inside another crossover Thursday, Locked On Packers, Locked On Saints. I'm Peter Bukowski, host of Locked On Packers, with my pal Ross Jackson, host of Locked On Saints, for this Week 3 NFC dogfight at Lambeau Field. This crossover Thursday episode brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code, all lowercase, Locked On NFL, for a first deposit match up to $100. Ross, we were about a minute away from this being a battle of two 2-0 teams, but the Packers could not hold up their end of the donkey on that one. The Saints did. They won on Monday night, short week now, heading into Lambeau Field for the Packers home opener. And so as you try and spec out what you're looking for here in this matchup, what's the biggest thing that you have your eye on for New Orleans this week?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, we're going to be having a bunch of conversations here about one unit on either side of this team and its ability to bounce back. I think the biggest one for New Orleans is going to be its offense. And really for the New Orleans Saints offense, it's not necessarily bouncing back. It's just like getting started and ideally getting started in the first half. What we've seen from this New Orleans Saints team is that they kind of lull defenses to sleep with bad play in the first half. And then all of a sudden come out in the second half, hit a deep shot to Rashid, Shaheed. And all of a sudden that's the injection, no pun intended, but the injection in their arm that they need to be able to go out there and participate and be able to win a game. But they need to be able to do that in the first half. So that becomes the big thing outside of course, safety Marcus Maye now suspended for the first 3 games of the season, which means you might be looking at a rookie safety, Jordan Howden, back there with Tyrann Mathieu for this game.
I wanted to ask you about that because this was breaking news on Wednesday. Marcus Maye played every defensive snap for New Orleans, has been one of those guys that if you're going to play this kind of defense with Dennis Allen, you have to have quality safety play, and they've had that with him and Tyrann Mathieu. So to you, as you're looking at this, how does that change the way that they can both attack and then also defend this offense? Because those, I think, are, for defenses especially, 2 different things.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Saints haven't allowed but one completion of a 20-plus air yard pass so far over the course of the first 2 games, and they've been getting off the field in third downs after forcing third and longs. All of that becomes a little bit more susceptible without Marcus Maye on the field. Everyone is very confident in Jordan Howden. Jordan Howden was one of those safeties that I really enjoyed watching going into the draft process, all those other things. He's a very talented young guy. I was told by a Saints coach that he carries the same type of talent, range, speed, intelligence as a Marcus Williams, but as a better tackler. So that's a better situation for New Orleans than what they were in before Marcus Maye and Tyrann Mathieu showed up. But what's the step down from a Marcus Maye who's got, since 2017 in the NFL, going to a rookie? There's going to inherently be some growing pains there, but how big will those growing pains be and how hard will they hit? They're going to find that out very, very quickly against a talented offense in Green Bay.
Yeah, and the Packers, one of the best teams and one of the most aggressive teams attacking the middle of the field. Only the 49ers throw to the middle of the field more. This is going to be one of those strength-on-strength matchups too, Ross, because the Packers trying to find a little bit more of that underneath passing game that has not been a big part of their offense so far. They've majored in middle of the field, intermediate areas. Yeah. That's where the Saints are best, or at least that's where they were best when they had Marcus Maye. So then it's like, okay, how does New Orleans counter? How do the Packers counter the counter? This is going to be one of those kinds of chess matches. And you're looking at one of the best defensive play callers and defense exactly designers in New Orleans against Matt LaFleur, who is also one of the best designers and callers of offense. And so that chess match, I mean, this is what football nerd dreams are made of when you're looking at this stuff.
Absolutely right.
And
I will say this is about the middle of the field with Marcus Maye real quick. Marcus Maye's middle of the field responsibilities have been deep for the most part. Plays about 59% of his snaps going deep in the middle of the field, but not coming down to the middle of the field. That's mostly been Tyrann Mathieu's situation there. So something to watch just in terms of maybe the deep safety part of it, which is one of Jordan Howden's strengths. If he's the guy that gets called upon, look, it could be It could be Lonnie Johnson Jr., it could be Ugo Amadi, it could be Jonathan Abram off the practice squad. Like, they have a lot of guys and a lot of options there. But middle of the field where the Green Bay Packers like to attack, Tyrann Mathieu has been the guy there, as well as their dime look, where they bring on a third safety or bring in, a 6 defensive back of some sort. So they're still going to be pretty comfortable there personnel wise. But, look, Green Bay, Matt LaFleur, they're going to have a lot of ways to make a defense uncomfortable with whatever they're comfortable with.
The cat and mouse game between Tyrann Mathieu and Jordan Love is going to be one of those things. Every play I'm going to be watching. Okay, where is Honey Badger? Where is he lining up? Where does he want you to think he's lining up versus where does he end up playing?
Disguise.
You and I talked about this, Ross, on Monday after the game, because you were there in Charlotte. This is one of those weird situations where the Packers play the Falcons last week, who played the Panthers the week before, and they play the Saints this week, who played the Panthers the week before, and whose defensive coach tutored the defensive coach that the Falcons are using. So this is like, it's essentially another week of playing the same kind of defense that they just saw play against the same offense. Like, I don't know how much better preparation for this Saints defense you could get than seeing what they saw with Atlanta. Like, it's like the second week of the same prep. This is like a 7-game series almost for the Packers offense, which is a weird place to be. We don't usually see that.
Yeah, and then vice versa for the Saints, it gives them tape against their defense to figure out, okay, what did our defense in Atlanta do wrong that they can fix, that the New Orleans can say, okay, now we can fix that going into this one. And obviously that's a huge part for the Green Bay Packers, right? I mean, the biggest story coming out of Green Bay has got to be around that offense, I imagine. Yeah,
and they hit their stride in the third quarter. This has been their thing now. They came out in the third quarter against the Bears, familiar. A house of fire. And then the same thing in Atlanta. Like, in the middle of that game, you're just like, okay, well, I guess the Packers had 3 straight MVP quarterbacks. I don't know what else to tell you. And then the fourth quarter happens, and you're like, oh yeah, that's right. Jordan Love, his third NFL start. They have to figure some of these things out. They have to find that consistency, Ross, and that is something that they don't have to get going the way New Orleans does. But they have to find ways to sustain some of this offense that's not just Matt LaFleur scheming it up, or that's not just Jordan Love outside of structure trying to go make a play. Can they find some consistency in the run game?
Yep.
Maybe not this week. And then especially if Aaron Jones is going to be out as of this recording. Right. Aaron Jones not practicing on Wednesday, but Christian Watson gonna be on the practice field. It was on the practice field Wednesday anyway, at least in a limited fashion, has not played so far this season, and yet they're one of the top scoring offenses in the league, even without him. So are they going to put Christian Watson in the slot and make a backup safety in quarters, try and run with him? I think that's something you'll probably see. What is the situation here? And we're going to talk about matchups a little bit later. I can't wait to see how they deploy Jaden Reed against Alontae Taylor, who I think you and I both like as a player. Yeah. But I think this is going to be a tough matchup. Someone who is so quick and also has the ability to win vertically the way Jaden Reed does. That is going to be one of those things that I'm definitely got my eye on. But in terms of trying to find that consistency, this better than I do. Like, this is not the defense to try and find some consistency against. They are really, really good. And I've been saying this on all the interviews that I've done this week, Ross. I'm not sure the Packers will play a better defense this year than this New Orleans Saints one. It's kind of a bummer from a matchup standpoint to lose Marcus Maye, because he is such an integral part of what they want to do back there.
Yeah, he's big for them, and he's been playing his best football as a New Orleans Saint over the course of these first 2 games. And they could certainly use that going up against still what is going to be a talented offense with or without Aaron Jones, but particularly through the air. Still a talented offense with good weapons, good pieces in Green Bay. But it does give the New Orleans Saints a little bit of maybe room for concern that they're not going to have him this week. But I think, honestly, they would rather be without Marcus Maye early than for the stretch run of the season. Kind of the same thing as the Alvin Kamara suspension. There's also the Jake Haener suspension, too, which is a 6-game suspension. But I don't think anyone's too concerned about that at the moment, considering that the quarterback situation is all finally taken care of here in New Orleans. But I do think that having Marcus Maye out is going to be a thing that you're going to notice here and there, some big plays, things like that. But the most consistent thing is, can they keep the points off the board? And that's something that with this New Orleans Saints defense, with and without Marcus Maye, because they missed him for a couple of games in this stretch last year, does really well. 10 straight games not allowing 20 or more points. Now, this is a new defense as opposed to the one that was here last year, but still a big stretch and an important one for New Orleans over the course of that 10 games.
I was going to bring up that stat because the Packers had a similar stat going into the game against Atlanta. And then guess what? They gave up 25. So
that happens.
The streaks are made to be broken. And if they're going to be broken, I think trench play is going to be a big reason why. We're going to get into the matchups in this game, get down and dirty in the trenches with the big uglies coming up after this.
And today's episode, this crossover Thursday edition, brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. It doesn't get any better. It's the easiest, most exciting way to turn $10 into $250. 25 times your entry up to, if you get these right. All you have to do is pick 2 to 6 players, choose whether or not they're going to come in at more or less than their Prize Picks projections. You do that, and then boom, you're a winner. No playing against thousands of mystery lineups that you can't see, spreadsheet wizards, all of that weird stuff. You ain't got to deal with none of it. It's just you and your football knowledge versus the house. So go and check them out today. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL. Use the promo code LockedOnNFL in all lowercase as well for your first deposit match up to $100. Means you put $100 down, you get another $100 for you to be able to use. Once again, that is prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL, promo code LockedOnNFL in all lowercase, so that you can get that first deposit match up to $100 at Prize Picks. Today's episode also brought to you by our friends over at Jaire Medical. Peter, I'm here in New Orleans, right? We got to deal with the hurricanes that are always, threatening all over the place.
Prepared.
Although, hey, if you're living on the East Coast now, all of a sudden you're worried about them too. West Coast is getting them. Look, you got to be prepared. If you're on the West Coast, you're getting hurricanes. You're already dealing with earthquakes. You got your earthquake kit. I'm going to tell you something so you can utilize this. I have experience in it. This is definitely something you want to add to your earthquake kit, your hurricane preparedness kit, whatever it is. It's the Jaire case. 5 different antibiotics that are going to be able to help you out with 50 or more different types of infections. This could potentially be life-saving for you in the right situation. You could save more than $360 by getting these life-saving antibiotics with Jaire Medical, plus an additional $20 off simply by using the promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, at checkout at jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com.
Coming back here, Locked On Packers, Locked On Saints, a Week 3 NFC showdown.
Woo!
This is one of those, Ross, that makes me remember some of the Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, absolute
the
dandies.
The dandies.
And also some heartbreakers for the Packers standpoint. There was the one that the Saints, I think, scored 50 against Aaron Rodgers back in, was that 2009? Yeah. Let's not talk about that ever again.
You ever think about the 38-3 against Jameis? You ever think about that one at all? That one was wild.
I forgot that had happened. Are you sure that happened?
No, that was obviously a fake game. They say it happened in Jacksonville, Florida. Like, none of that even makes sense. What are you talking about?
That was a preseason game. I'm almost positive. No, these two teams look very different. Part of that is because we have different quarterbacks on both sides. And that is an element of this that I really love, because both of these teams want to protect their quarterback. One team has been very good at it. The other team has been less good at it, and that would be the New Orleans Saints. So, but they're really good at getting after opposing quarterbacks, both with the blitz and without it. And so when you look at this offensive line, how much of that is the contributing factor to this offense not having gotten going so far this season?
I would say it's a part of it. I wouldn't say it's the full story. I mean, we've also seen Derek Carr make some bad decisions that he has told us are bad decisions. I mean, the accountability is wild with Derek Carr, which is actually kind of refreshing. We've also seen this New Orleans Saints offense every now and then just, you get into the red zone, you brought Jimmy Graham back, out of 1 foot out of retirement or whatever, to get him back here to New Orleans. And then you don't utilize them in the red zone. I mean, like, there's still some of those things that are out there too. So I won't put it all in the offensive line, but I do think that the offensive line has been at least a contributing factor to the New Orleans Saints not being able to get things started. We saw during the Week 1 game, Derek Carr under pressure for 17 snaps, 10 snaps in Week 2, but he performed much better over the course of those 17 snaps against the Carolina Panthers, completing, I think it was 8 of 13 passes for over 160 yards. Last week, he was 2 of 6 in those situations. So not as good, right? 4 sacks allowed in both of those games. And so and the majority of those, I think it's of the 8 sacks that they've given up so far, 7 have been in the first half and only 1 in the second half. So it is a part of what's going on, but it's not the only piece of it. But I do think that getting more protection, getting more stout on the interior, as well as the left side of the line, those are going to be must for the New Orleans Saints, especially know that you have no Alvin Kamara this week. You know that you're probably not going to have Jamal Williams this week. So you're hoping that rookie Kendre Miller and Taysom Hill and maybe Tony Jones Jr. gets elevated again. And those are your guys in the run game. If you're not going to have the support of the run game and this front for Green Bay is going to be able to just pin its ears back and come after the quarterback, I'm sure you understand how concerning that can be for an offense.
Yeah. And when I look at this Packers defense and the shape of it, I'm always trying to think of like, okay, what is the situation you've built this team for? The Packers have built this defense to go after quarterbacks who can't move in offenses that want to throw the ball. Well, let's see the New Orleans Saints, because that is basically what they are right now. And they'd probably want to run the ball a little bit more if they had Alvin Kamara. They probably want to run the ball.
Can I call Derek Carr sneaky athletic? Is that a thing I'm allowed to say?
You can.
Am I allowed to say that?
But you just got done. It would be more compelling, Ross, if you had not just gotten done talking about how he took a bunch of sacks the last 2 games.
I don't know.
So, I actually agree with you. I think he's got that like Kirk Cousins sneaky athleticism.
Yeah, he can like extend plays, but he's not going to be a big time runner for you out of the backfield by any stretch of the imagination.
But you have this Packers front that has been one of the best pass rush groups in the league so far this season. Rashawn Gary leads edge rushers with minimum snaps in pass rush win rate. Ryan Ramczyk against Rashawn Gary is a heavyweight fight. Yeah. The rest of this group, though, Carl Brooks and Colby Wooden for rookies have been terrific rushing the passer. Kenny Clark has been snatching souls over the last 2 weeks because he finally has guys around him who can provide some help. And then Preston Smith is still a really good player. Lucas Van Ness, who was limited in practice on Wednesday, playing with that JJ Watt brace. He has been so much further along than I think a lot of the draftniks predicted he would be, including me, by the way. I'm kind of watching him out there going like, I don't think this guy knows what he's doing. And then all of a sudden it doesn't matter, because if you're that athletic and that big and you give that much of a, good things tend to happen. So that is where I'm interested to see what I told Aaron Freeman last week. We did a whole bit about how I have to stop saying I'm interested to see. I can't, we have to stop. I need a shot collar. How committed to the run will New Orleans be, understanding that this is the way to attack Green Bay's defense, that this is where they are soft, especially when they get into those nickel looks? Can you spread them out, get into those 11 personnel sets, and then run the ball on them? And can you stay committed to it? Can you stay patient with it? I think Joe Barry is going to dare Pete Carmichael and Derek Carr to stay patient with the run game. And if they don't, that's when Jaire Alexander coming downhill, eyes to the quarterback. Russell Douglas, one of the best in the league at identifying concepts and baiting you into throwing it right to his chest. And so that is the cat and mouse game that we're going to see here, because I do think the Packers are going to be able to put pressure on Derek Carr with just 4. They're also bringing guys. They've got some really good blitz looks. It's not about just identifying, it's about picking them up. And so how do you manage those two things? How do you balance those two things? If New Orleans can't run the ball, that's going to be a huge, huge problem for them, because I think they're going to struggle to move the ball through the air in this game.
Yeah, and that's going to be one of the things that you're going to be looking for sure. I'm sure it's something you'll be interested to see. I think that when you look,
I'll be fascinated to watch, Ross.
mine is when you look at. That's the thing that I always say. When you look at this, when you look at that. But what I will say to the New Orleans Saints' credit is that you go back to the Tennessee Titans game week 1. They averaged about 2.6 yards per carry on the ground. Terrifying. But they still ran the ball 27 times. And look, 11 of those runs came when they had a lead, right? So they were able to get comfortable there. It was a 1-point lead, but they had the lead and they're trying to run the ball out late towards the end of it. But they haven't had an issue. That still means that 16 more times before they ever got a lead at all, which wasn't until towards the end of the game, they still ran the football, despite the fact that they weren't productive there. And so I will give the Saints credit for staying committed to the run game in close game situations. But if they go down a score, right, they go down a touchdown, do they bail on it or do they remain committed to it depending upon the time that's left? That's going to be huge. Game situation, clock, down and distance, all of those things obviously matter when it comes to can you stay committed to the run game. But the Saints have shown a propensity to do that, or at least an interest in doing that so far. That's the way that I would say it. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I didn't mean to do an interest. I didn't mean to say it that way. But you know what I mean? But there's a focus on it.
The phrasing of it was amusing to me, because it's like, yes, we are interested in doing this thing. I don't know if we can do it, but we are interested in doing it.
In trying.
Both teams are interested in trying to win this game, but you have to do the thing. Ultimately, you have to do the thing well enough to win. And so we are going to try and do our best to figure out, not just be interested in, but deliver on the idea of the things that are going to help each one of these teams win, the thing that will decide the outcome in this one. That's next.
Today's crossover Thursday edition Locked On Packers, Locked On Saints, brought to you by the one, the only Bird Dogs. I don't have my Bird Dogs on right now because I wore them yesterday. So that's how you know how much I love these Bird Dogs. I had a couple people that saw me on the flight actually to Carolina, and I wore my Bird Dogs because they're fantastic. The joggers are fantastic for a flight. They look like I actually had some effort without me actually needing much effort at all. And when I saw them, we kind of talked about the show and everything like that. And then I pointed to like the little Bird Dogs logo on the hip, and I was like, Bird Dogs, I'm out here. I'm really rocking these. And that's what we do. We love us some Bird Dogs. So if you want to go and check them out for yourself, there's seriously no better way to enjoy the athleisure trend than with Bird Dogs. Much better than those other brands. So if you want to go and check them out, head over to birddogs.com/LockedOnNFL and enter the promo code LockedOnNFL at checkout for a free Bird Dogs water bottle. Not only are you going to look good, but you're going to stay hydrated as well. So we're going to give you that with your order. birddogs.com/LockedOnNFL for a free water bottle at checkout. And we can promise you, you will not want to take your Bird Dogs off.
I was so close to wearing my Bird Dogs today, and
we should have done it.
I had. I don't. We
should have coordinated.
I also have like 6 pair of them, not just the shorts, the joggers. I can't. My wife is like, if you buy one more of those, and I'm gonna watch me.
Yeah.
You can't threaten me with a good time.
That's it.
The ability for the Packers, this defense, for all of the issues that they have running the ball, I'm talking about the Packers now.
Mm-hmm.
The goal of this Joe Barry defense is to put a lid on opposing offenses. Do not let them beat you deep. We joked about this on Locked On Sports today on Monday. The Saints offense is a couple deep shots a game and really great defense. Like, that's how they're winning these games. And so if I'm the Packers, I'm going, okay, don't let Chris Olave or Rashid Shaheed beat us down the rail. And if we do that, we'll win the game. So
sounds so easy.
Right. Yeah. Again, they are interested in.
I'm sure they're interested in doing that.
Not allowing any big plays. By the way, so are the Chargers, and they can't stop giving up big plays. Very interested in putting a lid on opposing offenses, and they can't do it. They are incapable of doing it. If
only they would have hired Sean Payton, and then they could have had their own deep shots. Jeez.
If the Packers can, though. If New Orleans is going to attack this team without creating big plays, how are they going to do it?
Yeah, I think I think what you're going to be looking for is going to be the scheme over on the Saints side. I mean, this is what the Saints have done so well. Not only this offseason, it's not just not only this season. It hasn't just been about Rashid Shaheed's faster than, every man on earth or anything like that. It's not because he's the fastest player there. It's not just
the fastest man alive.
Fastest man alive. It's not just because Chris Olave can go out there and make, a one-handed spectacular catch. And, you're not relying on the unsustainable there. The scheme is getting it done. And so what you're going to see a lot of is the New Orleans Saints attacking the Green Bay Packers with creating conflict defenders. Now, that's not specific to New Orleans. Like, Green Bay is going to do that. Every team you watch across the NFL is going to be doing this. You're trying to create the conflict defender, give your quarterback the one read to say, okay, that defender does this, so I'm doing the opposite. So you're going to see a lot of that. The Saints love their sail concepts. They love their Texas routes out of the backfield. Chris Olave is not just going to run routes at wide receiver. He's probably going to run routes out of the backfield. They're going to want to get there. Same thing for Rashid Shaheed. They're going to want to be able to get the short passing game, intermediate passing game in with Michael Thomas and try to attack over the top with him as well. So they're going to do a lot of these little things that are going to make sure that they're kind of putting the players in position to have the game open up for them, as opposed to relying on the players to open up the game on their like natural ability or anything like that. That's the difference between watching, a Kansas City Chiefs offense or a, Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense. Like Tampa Bay right now, you're watching these receivers just win one-on-one matchups and be physically bigger and stronger than the guys on the other side. That's not unsustainable. Pretty good. Right. Yeah. It's not unsustainable. It's not something you can't do. But if you're going to go up against one of the top defenses when it comes to limiting big plays like Green Bay is, you've got to be able to scheme. And that's one of the things that's going to be super, super fun to watch in this game is not only the chess match between, Dennis Allen and Matt LaFleur, like that's going to headline all this, but Joe Barry versus Pete Carmichael and his supporting cast, right? That's going to be a huge piece to all of this. And then just the confidence and trust between Derek Carr and his weapons. Are they going to be able to go out there and say, is Derek Carr going to be able to grab Rashid Shaheed and say freaking run again and hope that turns into something?
Love that video. If you haven't seen this video,
so good.
It's in NFL Films. Go find it. Derek Carr for like, I don't know how long, because we don't understand the passage of time, but it seems like for like a quarter is advocating on the sideline. Let's just throw this go ball to Shaheed, and then they finally do it, and it wins them the game. It was just terrific stuff. It was what they said. This is cinema. That was that was cinema. Exactly. I loved that.
Yeah, my passion is go routes.
The Packers offense. When you look at this Packers offense, is there anything that scares you about it? Like, what is the thing where you're going, okay, this defense, because the defense is really good. So if you're going to look at it and go, okay, this is what I would be concerned about if I'm New Orleans this week.
Yeah, I think the pressure packages are something that the Saints are going to have to pay attention to. I mean, look, the Saints are 29th right now in ESPN's pass block win rate. That's not good. And they've gone up against two teams, the Tennessee Titans as well as the Carolina Panthers, who are both in the top 10, Tennessee Titans in the top 5. And Green Bay right now is sitting at 13th in pass rush win rate, which is kind of the polar opposite of pass block win rates, defense winning versus the offense winning. And the way that I look at it is, okay, sure, Green Bay is ranked lower right now than the two teams that the New Orleans Saints have played, but is that simply because those are the two teams that the New Orleans Saints have played, right? Like, is Tennessee number 3 and is Carolina number 9? Yeah. Right. Yeah. Are they number 3 and number 9 because they've gone up against New Orleans already, and Green Bay's 13th because they haven't gone up against New Orleans just yet? And so I think that that's going to be the biggest thing that I'm looking at, that is going to be the biggest threat to the New Orleans Saints' ability to find success on the offensive side, particularly early in the game. Because if you can't get the time for the quarterback, if you can't let those plays develop, we're talking about scheming up things against this, Green Bay secondary. If there's no time for those things to develop, then it doesn't matter if you're calling the right plays, right? It's just bad football. And so that's the biggest thing for me is the pressure packages, the unique way that Joe Barry generates pressure, the individual talent, of course, across that front, very similar to the things that we've talked about for the first 2 weeks for the New Orleans Saints. Can they defend the front, or can they keep the front, hold the front?
I want to get into our predictions here as we finish up, but I just looked up the 2001 game, the Packers Saints game from week 1. 42-34 was the final. Aaron Rodgers, 27 of 35 for 312 and 3 touchdowns, a 132 passer rating. Yep. Drew Brees, 32 of 49 for 419 and 3 and a 112 quarterback rating. Wow. And the leading receiver can you name the leading receiver for the Saints that day?
That would have been 2021.
2011.
2011. Oh, was it Jimmy Graham?
It was Devery Henderson.
Devery Henderson. Very nice. Yeah, he would have been next on my list. I'll tell you this much. That is not the game we're going to see on Sunday.
That was why I was thinking of it, because I was like, this is going to be the opposite of that. Yeah. This has like 17-14 written all over it to me. I think 100%. These are two teams this is going to be a slugfest. Especially if Christian Watson plays. I like the Packers in this one, but I think it's going to be close. Like at 17-14, 20-17, that kind of thing. Like it's going to be a close game, a tough game. And I think we're going to come out of this game, I think, going, these are two pretty good teams. But you're not going to come away from this team looking at the losing team and going, wow, that team is awful. Like both of these teams are good regardless of what happens in this individual matchup. Where do you have a score prediction you want to throw out?
Yeah, you almost nailed mine. Because I'm going 17-13 and I'm going in favor of the Green Bay Packers. Look, Saints fans hate when I pick against the Saints, but I picked the Saints to lose this game preseason. I am a man of integrity. I choose not to change my predictions. The last time I did this, they beat the Tennessee Titans by a point. Maybe they'll do that again. But yeah, no, I picked the Saints to lose this game at the schedule release. Nothing on the offensive side that I've seen so far has proven to me to change my mind. I love what I'm seeing from the defense, but sustainability is the number one thing for me. I don't know that this is going to be sustainable against a talented team and a talented defense. So I'm going 17-13, keeping it low scoring, 11 straight for the Saints, keeping the Green Bay Packers under 20 points here. But that's my prediction, is that the Green Bay Packers will win at home.
All right, check us both out. Locked On Packers, Locked On Saints post game on Sunday after this week 3 matchup. Let's have some fun. It's going to be great. Thanks, Ross.
Thank you, bud.